are watching the Blueprint Radio Show with DJ Miss Hennessy.
First, okay?
Down.
To the left? Right. To the left first.
To the left.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
What was her order again?
This little light, can't nobody amen.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Ready? All right. We start slow, we're gonna speed it up, right?
One note.
1, 2, 1, 2, to the left. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Come on now. This little light of mine.
I can do jazz hands coming on.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, this, amen. Come on, y'all. Amen. 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 Come on, y'all. Amen. Amen. Stop it. Amen. Amen. Amen.
But the thing is, when you look like that, it does sound, suddenly starts to sound like, hey, men.
Maxine, aka Miss Hennessy, and tonight I am so excited to introduce this incredible woman to my show and to the She Is series. She really needs no introduction, but I am so honored to introduce her. The amazing Shirley Lewis, singer, entrepreneur, mother, woman of many, many talents, and of course, one of the incredible backup singers to have worked with incredible artists, including the very late and very great George Michael. Welcome to the show, Shirley. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I'm really good. Thank you. That was a lovely introduction.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my George Michael is like, you know, I love him to bits. So I love anything that, you know, to introduce me, but make sure you say I'm his backing. I will forever be his backup singer. So.
Oh my gosh, it's so lovely to be able to speak with you. And obviously, like we were chatting just a little bit beforehand, you know, just you've done so many amazing things that I don't even want to just say backup singer, because you're not just a backup singer. You're an artist in your own right. You're an incredibly inspirational, you know, woman who is just forging her way through, you know, the whole wellness and fitness world with your amazing daughter. You are, you know, a bit of an artist management as well. You're a producer. You just, like I said, a woman with many hats and many strings to her bow. But thank you so much for finding the time and for us to connect. Obviously, Sydney, UK connection, which is about midday your time in London. Yeah.
I'm used to this time because I speak to my brother sometimes around this time because he lives in Melbourne. So
of course, so I don't feel so bad because I know it's the middle of the day.
I'm not an early riser, so the fact that you said midday, I was like, perfect.
Yes, that's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you? I mean, you look amazing.
Really, I'm so good, so well. I'm just like at the like happiest point in my life, which is now, which is incredible. I mean, I'm 62 now. I was 62 in May, and I am honestly the happiest, healthiest that I've been in my whole life. So yeah, everything is just great. I feel great. I've got lots of things going on.
Yeah.
Not so much music. Not really doing a lot of music now. Kind of, I feel like it's part of me, but it's not something that I'm wanting to pursue as time goes on. I mean, if something amazing came up, I would probably, you know, think about it. But my sights are into this helping women really as they're getting older, because I feel like we get stuck, you know, in relationships, and then we don't feel so great about ourselves and blah blah blah. You know, I mean, I'm sure you know, I was married for 25 years.
I do know.
Luke Goss, yeah. Which Australian fans would know, Bros.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of my questions that's coming up. It's just such an amazing love story that the pair of you have, and an even better friendship, because I know that you know you were friends for such a long time. I think when fans found out that you were married too, you'd been together for such a long time. Just, you know, it's something to really look up to, and I think especially for younger couples. I mean, look, I'm 46. I wave my flag very proudly for that. Been married for 15 years, been with my husband for 17. So when you read up on incredible relationships such as yourself and obviously Luke, back in the heady days of Bros. I mean, Bros Mania was incredible, and I'm very proud to say that I am a Brosette. And when they came, so it's a Brosette. I was 13 when they came to Sydney. I think back in 88 or 89. And it was insane, but it was such an incredibly exciting time to be young and to be a part of all that. But to know that the two of you were, starting off your journey back then in such an incredible time. I'd love to talk about that from a female perspective, about not only being in the music industry, but having had such an incredible relationship, and for such a long time, which, as a lot of people know, relationships don't last that long.
I met Luke when he was 18. So that was, I've known Luke and Matt for most of their lives. Although we were married for 25 years, but we were together for 34 years. So that's a long time of anyone's life. That's, that is a lifetime. So the fact that, obviously we're divorced now, but that you kind of, it's more than, you're more than friends, you're family. So
honestly,
together, lovers is a different thing. That things change, people change. So that's why that didn't work. And also I was managing Luke, so it was, you end up more being sort of mother, manager, everything. And then the lover's side goes out of the window. And then but although we stayed together anyway for years, we were happy together. But then I got to a certain age, and then I was thinking, I don't know if this is going to be right for me going forward. And I think now is a good time for him also, and for me. We were both growing apart, really, and he had other interests.
Absolutely.
And I just didn't want to. He has a lot of, I don't even want to say religious interests, but I'm more of a spiritualist. But he's on a journey, and I didn't feel like it was a journey that I wanted to take, because I didn't sign up for that.
Absolutely, fair enough. Absolutely.
And also, he needed to pursue what he needed to pursue. So I just, being me, I was just like, I know I have to be the one to say I'm leaving this, which it was it wasn't an easy decision. But when I first met them, it was funny, because when I first met them, I sang on their first album, Push.
Stop it! I wanted to ask you that, if you were a part of that first sort of.
Yeah, that's how I met them. I'd literally just come back from tour. I was on tour with Elton John, and I'd been on tour for like 18 months. I was exhausted, and then a friend of mine called Nicky Graham, who is the producer of Push, and he called me and he said, "Oh, can you come in to do a session?" And I was like, man, I just got back from Australia. We'd been in Australia. I've just got back last night. I'm really tired. I really don't feel like doing it. Who is it? And he says, it's this new band I'm putting together called Bros. It's, 3 young guys. I was like, Nicky, really? And he was like, please, I'd really love to come in. Anyway, me, my sister, Dee, and Helena Springs, who was on tour with me with Elton John, we all went into the session. Luke wasn't actually there. I met Matt first.
What? So where was Luke? Or was it just for the singing?
I don't know. He was late to the studio or whatever. But when it was just Matt, so I met Matt first. But it was weird, because I was not attracted to Matt, and they look exactly the same. So
but
that was
though? if I can say this, and obviously because I am obviously like I said, you know, Brossette, and I've always respected them as a band, incredible musicians, and just such an incredible sort of, you know, I don't know, almost like they were ahead of their time, if I can say that, in terms of how they, you know, toured and even with their fans. And I got to watch the incredible documentary After the Screaming Stops, and that's where I saw you in the flesh. I went, oh my God, there she is. Because, you know, for years as a fan, you go, I've never seen pictures of this woman. Where is she? And then you
I hated having my picture taken. I would never be anywhere. For the camera, I would run. And even in the documentary, actually, I stayed, considering that was you know, they were following them the whole time.
Yeah.
So I didn't allow any filming in the house, in our home.
Okay.
This needs to be worked. So I didn't allow any of that. And then eventually, obviously, we had a few meetings.
They caught, but it was so lovely to see you guys.
Yeah, and I had to be on it. And they were like, oh, you can't be out of this as well. And I was like, well, no, I guess I can't.
I was so glad that I was glad to see a little bit of you, and that's when I realized that you were actually managed. You know, you were in a management situation.
Well, I actually put that documentary, I put that together. It was Luke's idea actually to do a documentary. And then he said to me, can you put some feelers out and see if you can get someone interested? And then we ended up talking to Suits, who was the director, who's amazing. He's such an amazing director. He literally, you can talk to him and before you know it, you drop your knickers, you tell him everything.
Well, you know what?
He gets you talking and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I've said that, you know.
Like a hairdresser.
So some of the things weren't in the documentary and I'm glad.
Oh my gosh. It was amazing. I've watched it so many times. I actually made my husband sit down and watch it with me because he had no idea that his wife was this 13-year-old crazy Bros fan. And I used to tell him about it, but you know, he's American and he's into, you know, hip hop and jazz and all of this sort of stuff. And I used to talk to him about it and he went, all right, doll, yep, okay. And then I said, he found the documentary for me. So he found it, he bought it for me and he surprised me because I was looking for it everywhere. And then we found it on Apple TV and he found it for me one night and he's like, I've got a surprise for you. And we sat down and when he showed it, I literally burst into tears. I went, oh my God, it's taken me back to such a pivotal time in my life.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, but that's what music does. It takes you back to a different time, that's what's so amazing.
Honestly, Shirley, and just watching it and watching, you know, the brothers talk and realizing how difficult it was for them all those years. Now, a lot of people don't realize, you know, before the internet, the only things we could rely on to follow our favorite idols were, you know, TV Hits magazine or Smash Hits magazine or whatever music magazine. And the media was so relentless and so cruel at that time, but I didn't really know exactly how cool they were.
Yeah, the only information you're getting. Yeah, so, now it's easy to, when people write something and it isn't true, you've got a platform, you can go onto your Instagram or your Facebook and you can say
honestly.
Good.
But you guys
they went through a hard time. I mean, it was really awful for them, and I think that they got that across in the documentary because I think people just think of them as like, oh, a couple of robots, and you know, but they're humans. You know, they've got feelings and they are very funny, but also kind of real eccentric. And I think people thought that they were pretending to be the way they are, but like that is how they are. And the arguing and stuff, they've always been like that.
Wow.
You know,
that's
crazy.
I mean, it gave such an incredible insight into so much. And you really, you know, I think for a lot of people, you forgot actually as you watched it, that they're grown men now. You know, for a lot of us, that time period stopped between 13, 14, and 15. We're watching it now as, you know, 46, 47, 48-year-olds, 50-year-olds. They're in their 50s. So you forget that they're not those young men that were part of that.
Every day. You don't see them every day. You see them, you know, like where you listen to the music and you watch videos and then you don't realise, oh, someone's aging and they're growing. I mean, they look amazing. They both look incredible.
Stop it.
You know, and
all of you do.
if your husband is, well, he's in the States, does he know that Luke is in movies?
He does. And you know what was funny is my husband has watched quite a few of his movies, and my husband's obsessed with Blade. And and so anyway, so I was telling him, I said, you know, Luke's an actor now, and he's like, oh, okay, and this and then he goes, hang on a minute, I've seen him in these movies. And then we went and we watched Blade, and I saw him in that. And then there was a couple of other those sort of action movies that he's done. I forget which one.
Death Race series was really good.
Death Race.
And he was in Hellboy too.
And then Hellboy. So because my hubby watches all that, I'm like, not so much. And then I went, okay, well, we'll watch it now because I know who's in it now. So it's all good.
And now you can watch it.
That's it. That's it.
But you know, they're both doing great now. You know, Luke's doing, you know, his art. Like I say, he's taken a different road. He's really, I mean, he's an amazing painter. So he's doing his art, and then Matt is obviously doing his music. I'm not sure if you've heard Matt's new album.
I have, and we're so hoping that he comes to
an
Australia.
incredible album.
Yeah,
I play it all the time. I literally, it's one of my favorites. And like Shipwrecked is my favorite.
Oh,
at the moment.
Shipwrecked, Saved is one of my, I play that all the time. I think Saved is such a personal track for him too. You can hear that there's a lot there. So I just look, I think he is incredible. He's such an underrated artist, and he's just again ahead of his time. And I really hope that this album,
I do think this album will do really well. I love Soldiers of War as well.
Yes,
and that kind of reminded me of me and Luke. It was I just thought, I wonder if I should ask him actually. I did a show with him actually at the Palladium when
I saw it because I follow his I saw that.
Really good. But yeah, going back to like the old days of being, I mean, I remember there's some funny times and some like really awful times. But I remember one time we were coming out of their mum's house, and the whole, like, it was when they had When Will I Be Famous was #1. And so it wasn't, it was #2. I Owe You Nothing, I think, was #1. But we came out of the house and there was tons of girls, and we were trying to get to the car. And as I was holding Luke's hand, like, and then as we got to the car, we got like more and more separated. And then I was like, oh my God, they're in the car. And I was outside with like all these girls. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want them to look at me, because they all hated me, obviously.
Oh man.
They're all very sweet now, but but I was like,
then.
oh my God. We used to get horrible messages. I'd come home from, you know, being out, and I'd look at my machine. I'd be like, there's like 200 messages on the answer machine. And it was all really horrible messages, like about me, like, you know, someone was going to kill me.
So they would call your house. They call you and... I know.
It was like, but now I see them all now, and they're all like really lovely. But you know, they were young, and they were, you know, it was their ideas, and they didn't want them to have girlfriends or wives.
Of course, obsession.
It was a really amazing time. There were some awful things that happened too, but we had some amazing times. And I'm, like I said, they're my family, Luke and Matt. I'm very close to Matt. I'm very close to Luke. So. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, look, you know what, Shirley, I think, and this is, I think, you know, when I decided to reach out to you, you're such a positive human being, and you've lived such an amazing life, even before the whole, you know, like your involvement with Ross, and obviously your marriage with Luke and everything, and then having to move to the US and really forge a whole other career over there and everything. You've had this incredible life before all of that, and you come from such an amazing family full of incredible creatives. Your sisters, of course, have their own stamp within the entertainment world. I mean,
have you seen 50 Years of Glastonbury?
I haven't known.
Oh, you have to watch it. My sister's on it. And she's incredible. And she tells this story about her and David Bowie. And it's so funny. You have to watch it. I won't spoil it.
Okay. But 50 years in Glastonbury.
50 years. I think it's called 50 Years and Counting.
Okay.
But it's about the 50th anniversary of Glastonbury. But she did the first one.
Wow.
So she's on the documentary. But you have to watch it. It's really funny.
Okay.
I won't tell you the story.
Okay, well, thank you. You're giving me more stuff to stay up late with. I love that. I will, but I just want to talk a little bit about your inspirations, and obviously before you decided to become a singer in your own right. I mean, you've released your own music, and before you decided to become a backup singer, did you decide, or did you just fall into it because you come from this musical family? How did this happen?
Yeah, I totally did not think about being a singer. It wasn't, I don't even know what I was thinking when I was a kid. I just, you know, I don't know. I didn't want to be anything. There wasn't anything that I particularly wanted. I always was singing, but it wasn't something that I thought was going to be a career.
Yeah.
I loved Dusty Springfield when I was a kid. I used to listen to all her stuff and sing all her stuff. I used to do little shows and do all her songs. But I think I just fell into being a backup singer because I was with Linda, and I used to go around with Linda a lot. And she was doing a session with Manfred Mann, and she took me to the session, and the girls just said, "Why don't you just come and sing with us?" And I was like, okay. I was like 10 or 11 or something, you know. But that was my first session with Manfred Mann. And I was like, oh my God, these girls are so loud. Their voices were so big. And I had a little tiny voice. And they said, you stand right close to the mic and we'll stand back. And I guess I learned from them, because now when I do sessions, I have to stand back and everybody else is standing front. So yeah, then I don't know, I just ended up, then someone would call me into a studio and then say, oh, just get Linda's sister in. And I would go in, and then they would just call me Shirley Lewis. But that wasn't my name. That's not our family name, isn't Lewis. So I was like, oh, okay. Then everyone just started calling me Shirley Lewis, and I've been Shirley Lewis this whole time.
Stop it. So where did the Lewis come from?
Linda just picked it out of the air and said that that's going to be her name. So yeah, then we all ended up.
So then you
Lewis,
just fell into that, and it's stuck with you ever since.
And it stuck. So now I'm Shirley Lewis. But yeah.
Wow. But obviously you loved doing what you were doing, because you you know what, I kind of didn't even really think about it. It's just a natural thing. I can't even say it's work. It's because it doesn't feel like work. And then I don't know, I just ended up, people were calling me in to do sessions, and I did a lot of you know, all the high energy stuff. Ian Levine was huge, you know, in the 80s, and I started to do a lot of sessions with him, and I brought my younger sister in to do that day. And we sang on Evelyn Thomas High Energy. That was our first thing that we did together. Wow. Oh my God.
So we did a lot of that stuff. And we went and did a lot of stuff with PWL. We did all the, you know, Kylie and all of that stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we were working literally, you know, 6 days a week, which is unusual for a musician. We were literally in the studio, you know, every day doing something. I can't actually remember half of the things that I have done. And my sister-in-law, who's a massive fan of, you know, Bros, and she follows everything I've done. She says, oh, I saw you with some band. And I was like, I've never sung with them. She goes, yes, you have. And then she'll get a video out and go, look who you are, or she'll go on YouTube. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I'd actually forgotten that I'd worked with Luther Vandross. Who does that?
Listen, when I was Googling about you, and I'm like, okay, because I go deep with my research, right? And I was like, right, I know that there's more to this woman. Let me find out. And I mean, there's not a lot out there. And because I know you're such a private person in a way, and I understand why.
I'm not so private now.
Well, I'm glad you're coming out, and you should, because you're fine and you look good and you got a lot to share. I'm very glad you are. But when I realized it was Luther Vandross, I went, right, that's it. I had to step away and take a moment, because I mean, who doesn't like Luther Vandross? And I'm like, how did that happen?
Exactly. I found all these, when I was moving, I found all these videos of me with, you know, Luther Vandross, Al Green. And I was like, I don't remember, but I do not remember. And I think that is pretty sad. I don't know what was going through my head at the time, but I don't know. I just went into a whole mush of work,
Yeah.
and I didn't really appreciate it, I guess. I mean, I can only just say I didn't appreciate it. I mean, I really remember real significant things like being on tour with Elton. That was a long tour, so that was like 2 years.
Oh,
so it's a significant amount of time. Sting, another amazing person to work with. He's absolutely incredible, lovely. George, obviously, these are like
those significant
milestones, but everything else in between, I actually,
it's just moments in time, I'd imagine, and moments in, by the sounds of it, a really, really incredibly successful time for British, British music. I think you obviously came into it at such a great time to be a singer.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't, if you're looking at it like a job, it's like what I do, and I'm happy to say that I am a backing vocalist. I think it's very important. I mean, some people don't like it. Did you see? Was it 50 Feet from Stardom?
Yes, I did. I was going to ask you about that.
Right.
Brilliant.
I didn't really enjoy that film because I was like,
excuse me.
I don't think they couldn't have really enjoyed singing for someone else because they wanted to be up front. I've never wanted to be up front, and I think it's I think that there's something to be said about being a safety net for the artists that you're working with. You're their support. If they're can't hit some of the notes, and they'll look to you to do it, and you're their support. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I like being a backing singer, and if you look at it like a job, I am was at the top of my job. I couldn't do any more. So I think that's when you kind of look for, okay, what else can I do in my life? And I knew I didn't want to continue, into this age, going on tour with, I don't know, bands that I'm kind of old enough to be their mother. But I do like working with new artists, though. I did do an album with Tom Grennan.
Okay.
He accompanies the album that he has out now, and he's amazing artist, and I love working with new artists, and in the studio is great, but going on tour is a whole new. I mean, that's hard. That is work. I know people think, what do you mean you're going on around the world?
No, that would be a lot, and not only just like the travel aspect of it, but what it does to your voice, different countries, and people's personalities would change so much. Like if you're not a morning person and that person is, all that stuff would throw me off.
Know that, yeah.
So how did you manage? Like, you've worked with some incredible people with major personality. Did you ever have some hairy moments where you were like, forget this, or was it just more, okay, this is how we are and we just need to work through it? How did you?
I mean, are you talking about band members or actually the artists?
The actual artists.
The artists. No, everyone I've worked with has really been incredibly lovely, and no side to them, really. I mean, obviously everyone has their good days and bad days, and that's to be expected, but I've never had anyone, never really fallen out with anyone. I've gotten on really well. I loved Elton. He was, like I said, Sting was lovely. George, I got on with. I mean, they're just people that I genuinely love and have a nice relationship with. The only person that I had a bad experience with, actually, it's a woman, 2 women, so maybe it's a girl thing. A lady called Jennifer Rush.
Oh, I've heard of her.
Who's absolutely horrible. And Bonnie Tyler.
Really?
She was a little bit off too, but not as bad as Jennifer. Jennifer Rush was absolutely a horrible person.
Oh, see? And these are the things I think.
Might be, again, I think that might be, 2 women.
Yeah, I think so too. I really do. And I think it's 2 women maybe in the same arena, and your voice was maybe you sang better, who knows? You don't know how, people get territorial and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then possibly I get on better with guys. I don't know.
I feel you. No, and that's it. And that's all it is. It's just that little territory. But well, that's awesome.
And all the people that I've worked with, the band members and everything as well, have all been actually really great. and I'm all still friends with everyone.
Oh, it's so.
I actually I was on stage with Steve Norman last week. He was doing a show in London from Spandau Ballet.
I was just going to ask you about that.
And I'm still friends. I'm still friends with all of those guys. And yesterday was the 37th anniversary of Live Aid, and I was watching all the things that I was doing it with Spandau Ballet. So I was looking at all of those things, and I went, "Wow, I've been friends with those guys for like 40 years."
And I love them.
Relationships.
They're one of my favorite bands, and I listen to a playlist that I've made for myself in my car, and my sons, obviously, when I drive them to school, or at the moment we're on school holidays, and I call it Britpop, and I put it in, and I've got a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're loving the 80s, can I tell you? And I love the British music. They love it. My little one is obsessed with Culture Club, and his favorite song is Time. He's 5, and he's telling people about time, and they're going, okay. And, and Howard Jones and Spandau Ballet and, Wet, 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 and of course, Bros, they're on there. So, but it's great music, Shirley, and it makes you feel good. And I think that's what it is about that time.
I don't know, like music now, I don't know what is going on in music now, really. I haven't got a clue. But, that Gladys Knight song, she says, well, these will become the good old days for our children. So maybe it is just that, We'll see.
I love it. I love sharing that time with them, though. And this was the music that Mum grew up on. And I have no shame in blasting it now because it makes me feel good.
It's great music. Yeah, it was really nice to see all the footage. Yesterday, people were sending me videos of, the Live Aid thing. And I thought, wow. And I look out at the crowd and think, and I've played that stadium so many times. It's unreal. I mean, I really do have to sit down sometimes and go, oh my God, I have had an amazing life. If it was all over now, I have had a really good time.
Well, it's not all over now because you have another incredible chapter which we're going to get to. But I did want to ask you, how does it feel to be on? I mean, and it's not just stages. You're in stadiums, okay? You've worked in stadiums. You've worked, full house, O2 Arena. You've toured the world. What does it feel like? Have you ever suffered with any kind of performance anxiety before you get on stage, or is it because you don't look at it as a job that you've just been able to get on and enjoy it and get through it? Like, have you ever been nervous?
Yeah, I've never had any kind of stage fright. And now I do think it's because you're in the background. No one is really focused on you. They're focused on the artists, which they should be. Obviously, you get featured during a show, but you don't feel any pressure. There is no pressure when you're a backing vocalist or in a backing band, or you're just really, it's just all fun as long as you do your job right, obviously. And you want to be the best you can be, so you do take care of your voice and you try to be there and help the art. That's what you're there for, to help the artists through their journey. So no, none of that I've never felt any maybe if I was a lead vocalist, I think I would. I'm not very good at doing lead things, so that's not really me. I did get kind of pushed into doing my own album, which was released. It was called Passion. And I worked with some great people, Shep Pettibone, who's an amazing producer, and I can't say I really enjoyed it because I think I don't like being on my own with things. I like to be doing something with someone else. So I didn't really enjoy it, and it kind of has with it one regret that I have in my life, and that is not going on the Faith tour with George Michael. And the reason I didn't go on the tour is because my album was coming out and the record company said they needed me to do promotion. So I just finished obviously recording the Faith album with George. So now it's his first solo album. He could have used any singer in the world, but he used me. So I'm the only female singer on Faith.
No way.
And,
Oh my God, Shirley.
I mean, Yeah, it's weird because when it came out, there was you know, when MTV used to be out, they had, oh, George Michael's new album is out, it's Faith, and the only singer that he used on the album was Shirley Lewis, and it popped up a picture of Shirley Holliman instead. And I was like,
Oh,
God
stop
damn
it.
it.
Oh my God. Editors,
But
get it
everyone
right.
is confused with us, and then they think, you know, I'm Pepsi and Shirley, but I'm like,
Yes.
well, I can't be both.
Yeah.
So that was a whole confusing time, but I was, yeah, and it's just such a regret of mine, because I remember George calling, and he called the house, and I think Carly might have answered the phone, and she was really young. She was like, "Man, George Michael's on the phone."
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, don't say that. Don't say his full name.
His full name, yes.
I know, I was like, don't say George Michael. And then he was like just asking me, like, can you please, I really want you to come on this tour. I mean, and I said, George, I would love to come, but I can't. I'm committed to the album. And then, you know, he'd leave it a little while, and then he'd call me and go, Shirley, I really want you to come. And I had to say no to, and I hated, that is my one regret, that I said no to George. And you know, he went off on the tour, obviously, and he used a lady, I think, called Lynn Mabry, who did then do the Faith tour. But I'm grateful that he did call me back after that to do the
yes, he
album.
did.
So from that moment on, I never said no to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad that you did bring up that album, because again, like I said, I knew that you had a solo album, and I listened to it, and it's just it's so so indicative, obviously, of that time. And
yeah, oh God, it's so 80s, isn't
but
it?
it's beautiful though. It's beautiful, and you really, it's funny that you don't, like, you did see yourself as having been a solo artist, but you really held that space well. And me knowing that now, just listening to that album, I guess if I go back and I watched a couple of videos on YouTube as well, and you were sort of standing on the beach.
I loved doing the videos. They were fun. Yeah,
I loved it.
I just don't feel like I have a good voice. I don't feel like I have I'm not very free with my voice. I think that's what it is. I'm not very free. So I don't feel like it bodes well for being a lead singer, because I think you need to be, you know, just all over the place with your notes and stuff. And that's not me. I'm like, oh, what note do I need to sing? I'm comfortable there, you know. So I think that I don't know why I even kind of let myself get signed, but I don't know, it was just one of those things. It was there, and I thought, oh, why not? I might as well have a go. Well,
I think it's great, and I think that it's great to have that as a part of your singing legacy, because it was.
I hate hearing the album though. I never listen to it. Never.
Listen, I totally understand it. I've been on radio for many years, and when I hear myself back, I cringe. I can't listen to myself. Even with these interview things, I can't. I go, my husband watches them on the big screen. I go, I cannot watch myself. I cannot hear myself. He goes, why? You've been doing this for so many years. Nope. Don't want to see myself. I'm just very grateful that I get to speak to amazing people. It's funny that we're like that, right?
Yeah, something's going on with my thing. Okay,
it's very strange. Well, listen, can we touch on obviously the incredible friendship that you did share with George, and when he called you back after you let him down the first time, what was that like for you? I mean, I've read some great sort of interviews that you've done online with a couple of people, and it's just reading the incredible connection that the two of you had, and obviously watching some of the videos of him with obviously all of his backing singers, but the two of you did have a really, really great bond. So what was that like?
I mean, I don't really know what it was, and possibly because I was involved in his first album. I don't know. That was his first solo album. That might to do with it. I don't know. But when we did Father Figure, which is really super, super special for me, because I actually had my daughter in the studio with me, and she was just, you know, colouring and whatever. And because George he used to write and then kind of record at the same time. So when you go in, the song isn't finished. So you just do like parts of a song. And I remember he just used to say, well, just come in, and I'm like, well, I have to bring my kid because I've got no money. He's like, oh yeah, that's fine, right, bring her. And it was, I don't know, I'm connected with him on another level, because it was like my baby was there as well. So it was, and we were singing Father Figure, and I think the first thing we actually did was the section where it goes, greet me with the eyes of a child. That was the first thing we recorded, and I was like, oh, my little baby's there. So it was, I don't know, it's very special. And I'm not sure how he felt, but my feelings towards him were he was like a brother to me. He was like a little brother. He felt like a little brother to me. And obviously I've worked with him for over 30 years. So we obviously developed our relationship. He wouldn't have been continuing to use me if he, if he didn't like me or whatever. And I remember one time I said to him, oh, thanks so much for inviting me back to do this. And he was like, my God, I wouldn't ask you if you couldn't do the job. I thought, okay.
Oh, wow.
But he's very, I mean, and he's helped me out a lot as well in my life, financially, when I had some financial issues. And I was like, oh, I'd hated to even like ask him, but he was like, oh, don't be silly, this is ridiculous, like, what do you need? And and he helped me out. And then we were going on tour, I think like maybe it was like 6 or 7 months after that, and I said, okay, I'm coming on the tour, but I still owe you like 50 grand. And he was like, I'm not going to have this conversation. I went, well, you are, because if you don't have this conversation, I'm not coming. And he was like, you are such a pain in the arse.
Oh, wow.
Like, what can we do? What can we work it out? I said, I'm paying you back. I'm not taking this money and not paying you back. And he was like, okay, work it out with the management. I'm not interested in how you do it. But he would, if you needed anything, he would be there for you.
Wow.
And we laughed, we had so many laughs together as well. And we had a lot of conversations about him being gay, because my brother's gay. And, so we had that in common as well.
Yeah.
And, he was very lovely to me when my mother died. And he was telling me a lot of, how he felt when his mum died. And his sisters as well were very, Yoda and Melanie, were very, very kind when my mum died, and they were just telling me all the feelings that they had. Yeah. And both sisters were lovely. Obviously, Melanie died as well, but I'm still friends with Yoda, and I don't speak to her much. A few times a year, I'll connect. But I've got great respect for Yoda and her father. I mean, the family have been through so much.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
I can't imagine that. And I'm very respectful of the estate. And a lot of people ask me to do interviews about George or be on a documentary about George, and I've never done any of them. Yeah. I did do some stuff for the older album, which is in the booklet, but that's official when they asked me to do it. So then that's not. But I've never done, this is different because we're
absolutely.
Conversation, but I don't want to be like in a documentary about George, because I don't know what the tone of the documentary would be. Absolutely. And to me, my relationship with him, my relationship with the family, my relationship with the estate is way more important than 2 seconds on a documentary.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to be able to stand in that conviction, because again, as obviously, we all know there's not a lot of media outlets you can trust, especially in today's sort of internet, social media driven world. People just want to take what they can get, and they don't care how they exploit it. And George Michael is an icon, he's a pioneer, and he's somebody to be respected, and
the edits, you can't, you could say something and someone could edit it in a way that doesn't reflect what you meant. So I'm just very wary of that. But I had an incredible relationship with George. I've loved him to bits. I mean, I absolutely loved him. And I would do anything for him. I think sometimes I just used to go when he called me into work. I didn't even know if I was being paid or I wasn't being paid. I was just like, just do it, We didn't have, it wasn't like that. It didn't feel like work. It was like, oh, your mates call in, can you come in and do something? You do it. But when he passed away, I was in Vegas actually with Luke and Matt, and my daughter called me, and she said, "Mum, have you heard news?" I said, "No, what?" George Michael's dead. And I literally dropped the phone, dropped to my knees. I was in, it's making me go cold now. I was in absolute bits. And then when I looked at my phone, Lisa, who a girl used to work with George, she's obviously been trying to call me before I got, before it went out on the news, and I didn't get any of the messages because I was in the States and I didn't have the wrong number, or it was coming through on WhatsApp, and so I didn't see it. But so it was a massive, massive shock.
I can't even imagine for those close to
and then
you.
I called Shirley immediately, and Martin answered the phone. He said she can't speak. She's sobbing, and I just wanted to like call her because I knew, I knew how she would be feeling. How I was feeling, it would be worse for her.
Absolutely. And it was such a shock for the world, Shirley, because it happened so suddenly, and I think it happening around the festive period as well, that made it even more sad. And it was just, I remember too, because my mom is a huge George Michael fan. She's every album, every single, It's funny you mentioned Father Figure. That's one of my favorite songs of his. Father Figure and Fast Love is definitely two of my favorites. Yeah. And then of course his Wham days, where you can do no wrong, but his solo stuff was just next level. So
an incredible songwriter. I mean, you just listen to his lyrics. Or read the lyrics of any of his songs, and it's just, I mean, it's an absolute genius. And an absolute perfectionist as well. So working with him, it was just, unreal. Like singing with him in the studio, like having, because everything was very close, and he liked to kind of really breathy sound, which I think it kind of like he had it, and I can really emulate that. And I think that's really, I suppose, what he liked about my voice. But singing with him in the studio, like, so you got a mic here and like he's there, it's like your headphones, you're like, oh, you can't help it. I'm in love with George Michael.
That would have been so amazing.
But because he looks at you, he's very
an intense individual, I can imagine.
But he loved women. I mean, it's so complimentary. You'd get to have a different hairdo or something, you'd be like, oh, you look gorgeous though, your hair looks good. He's very, he loved women. It's not that he didn't like women, but it's just that sexually it wasn't for him. But
it wasn't.
He was very gentlemanly, very attentive.
He had amazing charisma, and you'd feel it through. You just watch him, and you could sense that. I was watching just yesterday. Obviously, going through a couple more videos and things, and there's a couple of YouTube videos of yourself with a couple of other backup singers and George warming up before a show, and the gospel thing. Oh my God, the goosebumps. And he was in the thick of it. And there was one where he was standing next to you, and there was a fern. And you're hitting the fern off. I was giggling so much. I'm going, Shirley's worried about that frond. It's just here.
I know. Like I said, he's like my little brother. I was always like, looking at, make sure he's okay. Make sure.
No, the energy was second to none, and it's understandable why the two of you had such a great bond, and will always have such a great bond. So you have lived such an incredible life, and obviously musically, I think it's fascinating to talk to somebody who, and you're so humble about it too, which I think is another reason why I really, really like you. You're such a humble woman, and yet you've done so many amazing things and helped so many people, and probably didn't realize you've helped them. And I think you've landed up where you've landed up now, within the wellness and sort of mindfulness arena with your daughter, with Carly. Let's talk about +1 retreats and this next phase of yours, because it's very exciting.
Well, it really just came about in the lockdown. my daughter's a nutritionist anyway, and she's got her own business, and then obviously the lockdown came and she started doing a lot of things online, and then she said, God, there are so many women that are feeling so down, and they're just like, the lockdown, they haven't got anywhere to go, they're eating and they're feeling, you know, sluggish. And then she was like, I wonder if there's something like we could do maybe together, because she likes my energy too. She said, you know, you're very kind of uplifting, so it would be really good to get you together with women of a certain age. She likes to work with women. She works with all people, but she likes, you know, over 40s, if people going through menopause or, you know, struggling with, you know, relationships, maybe, all of that stuff. She's, because when people are younger, you know, it's a lot easier for them to drop weight and all of that stuff. But as we get older, and you know, it does get more difficult, and we do need to move a bit more. But it's also your self-esteem. It doesn't matter what size you are. It's not about that. It's like, if you need to be fit, you need to look after yourself and be fit for your family, for your friends, for your children. So it's not necessarily about the size. So she was like, oh, what can we do? And I was like, well, maybe like some kind of retreat where we actually spend time with people, and then you can do your thing and I can do mine. So we'll merge it together. So we have a juice fast, because what Carly says, it shouldn't be about the food. What you need to do is take away all the distractions. And if you're not thinking about it, if you're on a juice fast, all of your go-to things, like when you're not feeling like, oh, I'm going to get a snack, or I'm going to get, everything's taken away from you. So you feel quite raw. And then that's how you can open up a little, and then start to try and fix, actually, what is wrong with me? Why do I do that? And we have long talks. We sit around and talk about, you know, people's lives, and literally just having a chat like we are now. But we're together for 3 or 4 days. So you get to know the guests, and then they slowly start to open up about their problems, what it is, why do they eat so much? Why don't they want to exercise? Why do they feel down? Why don't they feel sexy? Why don't, you know, all of that stuff. And basically that's what we're trying to do, is uplift other women, because there's so much, we have so much to do as women. It's not just your job. It's like you're taking care of a husband, and you're taking care of your kids, and you're trying to look after yourself, and you're looking after the house, and where's the time for you? So just take a few days. So we're just like trying to take a few days out of that, 2 or 3 days, get someone to look after your kids for a minute. Your husband will be fine. And come and just have some, I mean, I had a lot of, not issues, but, you know, I was getting out of a long relationship, and I had to deal with, you know, there was some infidelity in that relationship. So I had to deal with that. And you have to, it's not about you. None of it is about you. It's the other people. You can't, and I think women blame themselves. Oh, my husband went off with someone else because I did something wrong. You didn't. It's not you. It's because you haven't been taking care of yourself. That's maybe the only reason. But so we talk about all kinds of things. We talk about relationships, and we talk about life, and the food and the diet is part of it, but it's not just about the juice. That's our tagline. Right. It's not more than that. Okay. So we do these retreats 4 times a year, which at the moment they're in Hastings, which is we have a beautiful house in Hastings, and we do 5 days each time. And then we have just done a collaboration with Champneys Health Farm, which is one of the biggest health farms in. You can't say health farm anymore, actually. It's health spa. Oh,
why can't you say health farm? What's that?
I don't think you say health farm. You used to be able to say health farm. I don't know. Like,
okay. They're a bit weird on the farm thing.
There's all kinds of rules, things you can say and things you can't say. Yeah.
It's too much.
But that's another story. So so it's it is one of the biggest spas in the UK. So we've collaborated with them now as well. So we do 4 weekends, they're called body kindness weekends.
Oh, I love that.
And where we teach women to start to exercise if they're frightened to go to the gym, just using their own body weight, things you can do at home, and you don't need any equipment, and and just trying to be more conscious of what your body needs. Because if you start listening, it really does kind of tell you what you should be doing, and more, you know, you need more sleep and all of that stuff. All the things we already know, but we just need to be reminded of.
Absolutely.
But it's a great experience for me. I get to be with people, which I love, and you know, and I like to inspire people. You know, I have a happy disposition, she says. So
you do.
I'm always happy. I seem to be always. I mean, I am genuinely. I've got this mad routine that I do in the morning, and I get up and I sing. First of all, I do 2 choruses of "It's a Beautiful Day" U2 song, or and I sing another song called "Grateful." And I go for all the things that I'm grateful for. Then I jump up and down for like 10 times or so. And then I start my day. But it helps.
Well, listen, you're reaching.
Not good when you have a partner or you're sleeping with someone else because they think you're a complete loon. But
that's okay. But you're reaching people across the world, and you've inspired me. So keep singing and keep jumping up and down and doing what you're doing. I absolutely love, because obviously I do follow you, and I've seen, you know, all of your posts about Plus One, and I've seen a couple of the retreats that, you know, just the pictures and it looks like such a warm and inviting and safe space, and I think that's what really is needed more. But it's obviously, is it only open to UK residents, or have you had people fly in from overseas, or is it not kind of reached that kind of
we've had people flying. Obviously it's women only.
That's wonderful.
But we have people flying, and we also do something online, so you can kind of join in online. So you get your juices delivered to you and stuff like that. So
that's
we've only done it in England. I don't know how that would work outside. But
that's okay.
But my daughter, she has carlydiet.com. I'm gonna give that a plug. You can do that from anywhere in the world, and plus1retreats.com is really for UK based if you want to come to the retreats, but we do have some stuff online.
Look, I would fly to the UK to come and join you if I could. I really would. I think it's so necessary, and I think, you know, people talk a lot about, obviously, you know, we're living in this post-COVID world, but we're not really out of it. We're still in the pandemic, and you know, just today.
What is it like there?
We've literally just heard today, we are on the news that Australia is really concerned that, you know, another wave of the Omicron sort of virus is going to hit us again. Our hospital sort of numbers are going up because we're also dealing with this flu that we've got here at the moment. So it's not just COVID, but it's the flu. And you know, my whole family has been the last couple of weeks. And like I said, our kids have just slowed, because we're coming off our 2-week school holiday vacation, and then we start term 3 next week. I'm a teacher as well, so I have to be well. Yes, I am. I teach primary school kids, and I'm also studying for my teaching degree. So I am very busy. I'm juggling, and then I do this. This is my absolute love and passion, which is the, you know, the creative stuff, the music stuff.
It's great doing this. It's great. It's really, really good. It's really. I mean, I don't do a lot of interviews, as you know.
No.
So something made me like, yeah, this is good. This is
right. I'm so grateful. But it's what you're doing, and that's what encourages me, and that's what intrigues me, because those are the conversations that I think women need to be having, and women need to be really supportive of each other regardless of where we live in the world, and especially at our age, Shirley. I think we've got a lot to share, and we're great teachers of what we've been through, and I think people don't encourage these conversations to happen enough. So I'm so honored to have you on here and to talk about this, and especially what you're doing now, you know, with your daughter, and encouraging people, because weight loss, the food journey is so challenging, and it can be so isolating for people who don't know how to articulate their feelings, right?
I know, it's so strange, because I've obviously I've done, Carly had me on her nutrition plan, obviously, but honestly, once you do it, it's something, you do for life. Like you could put on, you could go on holiday and come back and go, oh my God, I put on like 2 or 3 pounds. But because you know how to eat properly, you just use your plan again, and within 10 days it's gone. Wow. So you never have to worry. What she kind of makes, nothing is bad, that is what she says. Nothing. If you want to have a chocolate bar, if you want to have a bag of crisps, have it. But then you have to, you can't have all of that again in your main meal. Say you use the crisps or the chocolate is your fat in your meal. So then don't have the fat in your actual. It's so simple. Once you learn how to do it, you never have to do it again. The thing is with her, I said, this is such a great diet, but like once you've done it once and you've done the plan with you, you don't need to come back to you, and there's your problem.
That's
like, no. But she's like, I don't care. I want people to know about their food. And she genuinely cares about people's health, and she does a lot of studying. Well done, I'm very proud of her. I'm very, very proud of her. She's an amazing, amazing woman.
Well, she's got a great mama. And I see I see your photos together and obviously on your page, and you guys have such a wonderful bond, and you can see that, like mother, like daughter. So
we laugh like so much. Yeah.
That's so wonderful.
Nate.
That's so lovely. That really is. You and I can obviously talk for hours, and I would love to just come round and have a wine and keep talking, but unfortunately it takes me about 40 hours to fly there, and then and
it would be so worth it though.
Yes. Absolutely. I've always loved London. I've always had this real sort of love affair with the UK, and my husband and I lived in Sicily for a couple of years, and he used to work for the US Navy, so we would fly to the UK and sort of Paris and do all that kind of stuff, and he loved the UK as well. So I always say to him, I go, I chose the US, but sometimes I wonder I probably should have gone to the UK. He goes, we would have met in the UK anyway. So,
well, if you do come here, then you have to let me know, and we'll.
I certainly will.
In my room.
Absolutely, I definitely will. But listen, thank you so much for sharing just a little snippet of your incredible life, and it's just given me so much more insight into the amazing woman you are, and just so grateful to be able to share that with you, because you have lived an incredible life, and I hope you
I don't know if we got through all the questions you wanted, but anyway, we were talking a lot. But
no, listen, you know what I loved about what you've done is, because obviously my questions for you was just so that you got a feel of where we were going to go with the conversation, but you've made it conversational, which is what I love. I love it. Right. Good. So you've answered everything just in this conversation, which has been marvelous. But thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, let me know where when it's on, and I'll post it, and
I will,
so everyone can see. I'm sure all the George Michael fans would be really interested.
Listen, they will be so happy, and I just thank you for just for trusting me with your information and with your story. And I always thank people for that, because I know what it's like, and I know when you talk, you're being honest, and it's a really, really powerful thing. So I really appreciate you, and I just think you're great, and I'm going to keep watching you and following you for inspiration.
I'll follow you too.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Thanks.
Thank you, darling.
Thanks a lot. Bye, darling. See you later. Bye.
You used to be romantic. Intuition, there's suspicion. You used to be romantic. What's the matter with you? Don't you feel